Welcome to Smack This, the unofficial Godsmack podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Humphrey, where I talk all things Godsmack. This is episode 5, and this week in Godsmack news, they actually announced something Friday after I filmed last Thursday. So, this week's news, they announced that they are going to do a tour in November in South America. That's huge news because out of the 20 years of the band, they've never played there before. So I've seen a lot of stuff on Instagram. Uh, Fans down there cannot wait for them to show up. I hope that they bring all the bells and whistles and blow you guys away. So that's it for this week in news. What I'm here to talk about this week is going to be a little bit difficult. I'm going to be actually talking about 2 DVDs in the timeline where the band was still on tour on the Wake the F Up tour, which was the first headlining tour of arenas. In fact, they released a DVD of that, which I will be talking about. Um, They released 2 DVDs, like I said. One of them I have, and one of them I let somebody borrow, and they haven't brought it back yet. But one of them is this one. I don't know if you can get a good look at that. That's Godsmack Live. This was actually released first. It was released on July 9th, 2001, while they were still on tour on this. And then they also released another DVD on April the 9th, 2002, and that's Godsmack Smack This. Now, what's really weird about this is Smack This is actually to do with the very first tour, the Voodoo Tour, the debut album. And then Godsmack Live has to do with the Awake Tour, so they kind of reversed it. I'm not really sure if that was a record label mistake or maybe they were still working on Smack This and it actually got released later. I don't know. From what I've read from other bands, is live DVDs are pretty much easier. They let the director go through it and the camera shots and all that, and they kind of review it and say yes or no. So maybe Smack This took a little longer because it's a lot of video clips. We'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. So, Smack This hasn't been certified. I don't know how many copies it's sold as of now, but I am going to talk about it. On the back, you can see maybe a little bit of glare, but it shows some of the songs that are in it. Now, that being whatever, Voodoo, Keep Away, Bad Religion, Time Bomb, Get Up, Get Out, Stress, Moon Baby, Immune, and more. Now, it says that, but if you're thinking that they're actually going to play these songs, that's wrong, because they use clips of these songs into the clips of what they're showing. So, the DVD starts off with the band and Time Bomb, but they're not playing it. It's kind of like a little video clip. And there's a lot of clips backstage, on stage. There's a lot of funny parts in it. In fact, towards the beginning, Sully is washing his clothes, and with Tony filming him, and Sully's throwing all his clothes in the washer, and he separates the darks and the whites, and Sully says, "Screw it, I'm gonna wash it all in one load." And I mean, it's just packed full. The whites are in with the dark colors, and he takes a great big cup of soap, and he's like, "Is this right?" And Tony's like, "Yeah, you want to wash it." So he's like, "But I don't know if it's going to wash or not." And Sully's like, well, the water and the shrinkage, and it'll work. That's one of the funny parts in it. Um, let's see, what else? There's some early footage of the band um, during rehearsals. It's prior to them being signed to the record label. You can tell because Tommy Stewart actually has really long hair. Um, so that's kind of cool to see. Um, a lot of the stuff clips are friends of Sully throughout his year of his life. He actually has them working on the road crew, like Tony TC. He's the security guard, a real big jacked up dude, and he's been with them since the beginning. Fro, another dude. He's been best friends with Sully for a long time. He actually is the drum tech. Then you have probably the most famous one of the road crew is Uncle Fester, and that's actually Robbie, the bass player's brother. He kind of takes care of the band backstage in their dressing room. He fetches, as they say, he's the fetcher. He fetches this and fetches that. He's real funny. Um, there's a part in the limo part of a scene where Robbie's talking to Tony about what Ozzy said to him while they were on Ozfest. Like I said in the last episode, they actually played it twice. Where Ozzy came up to him and said the rhythm section is just killer, it's just so tight. And yeah, it is. It's very tight. There's some clips of them meeting fans, and some of the fans are even crying when they meet them. Um, then there's a part where Tony and Robbie kind of make fun of the name Godsmack because everybody thought that it's an Alice in Chains song, which it is, but that's not how they got their name. They kind of make fun of that part. There's a lot of stuff on the Voodoo tour. Um, there's actually Sully stage diving. There's just all kinds of cool stuff. Probably for me, the saddest part of the movie is the parts where Pantera are in it. Vinnie Paul and Dimebag Darrell are in it a lot. And as we know, they passed away. Dimebag got killed by a fan. Vinny passed away a few years ago. So yeah, that's kind of sad. And like I said before, on the last weeks, who would have known that that was the last time that they would have been together, as far as Pantera is concerned. In fact, there's another cool clip where Rex Brown, the bass player, Pantera, Dimebag, and Vinny come up on stage, and Sully sings the hit song for Pantera, "The Walk." It's really cool to see. Uh, there's a lot of backstage stuff. There's a scene where they actually trash the backstage. They throw as Sully said in the clip, he says everything goes in that corner, and I mean beer bottles, food, you name it, chairs, all got smashed into that wall. There's another part in it that's Ozfest and the grass incident. Um, Sully tells the crowd, do whatever you guys want to, let's just go crazy. And little did he know, some of the fans decided to rip up the turf and started throwing it on stage. And Sully stops the show and tells them to stop, but they don't stop. So they actually ended a little early. And then also in the DVD, the owner, I guess, of the outside arena that they were playing, gets into his face and blames him for it. And it's a big shouting match. He's like, I didn't do it. I told him to stop. And she's like, I got it on video. You just got to see it. The way this DVD ends is them backstage again, and they're kind of goofing off. And then Sully says, okay, that's enough, and he actually shuts the door, and that's how the DVD ends. Now, I got my notes here, sorry. And then, so now we're going to talk about Godsmack Live DVD. This one is very interesting. When they were on the Awake tour, they actually were an opening act at first. They opened up for Stone Temple Pilots and Limp Bizkit and a couple of other bands. When Awake really kind of took off, they were offered to do their own headlining tour in arenas, and of course they jumped at it. Um, I mean, who can blame them? I mean, think about it now, a band headlining arenas on 2 albums. That's just crazy. Takes some bands years, multiple albums before they actually headlined. Now who they had opening up for this Wake the F Up tour is what they called it. And they had Systematic, Code, and another little band called Stained as their opening act. Now, this DVD was recorded in Worcester, Massachusetts, their hometown in Boston, March the 2nd, 2001. It was directed by Ian Barnett, and he did a fantastic job. All the camera angles are just fantastic. It's just really good. There's my slogan, catchphrase. And but the DVDs actually starts off, the trucks are pulling in and the tour buses are pulling into the arena. There's fans lined up outside in the snow, and then the show starts. Oh, let me talk about the stage real fast. The stage is very interesting. Every time they do a tour, the stage changes. Sully does a lot of the stage designs, and this one is it's cool. It's kind of hard to describe. You don't know if you're like in a cave or on top of a castle. I kind of think of it as a castle because there's actually pillars on the back of the stage with gargoyles, two gargoyles, the eyes light up. On top of the pillars, some fire come out. They got a big, the Godsmack Sun logo is up behind the drums. There's a big video screen back there as well. They really did a good job on their very first headlining tour. So let's get to it. So they actually played 13 songs on this. Awake starts the show. Great way to start it, that drum intro, and then there's some pyro at the end of the song. It's really good. And then the second song that they do is Sick of Life. Like I said, it's kind of a downer song, but with the way they play it live, it's really good. It gets the crowd up and going. Also, there's a part where Sully welcomes the crowd. And then Vampires is number 3, so there's your instrumental part of the live show. And you really get to see the video screen for the first time, and it's doing the Night of the Living Dead and Dracula and all them. And then there's also, on top of the pillars, there's the fire. It really matches the song. And then track 4 is Bad Magic. Again, I can't talk enough about that song. It's so good live. The lighting in it is incredible. The way they rigged the lighting with the song, because I've said it before where he says that, get back on track, get off my back. Yeah, and then the lights, these little strobe lights kind of go to this side, and then they go to this side. It's really cool to see. Then track 5 is Bad Religion, so bad and bad go together. The crowd gets this right after the intro of the drum part, and they chant that beginning part of the song. He really works Sully, meaning Sully really works the stage from right to left and left to right, and gets the crowd really interactive. Number 6 is Mistakes. Sully starts it off with that guitar intro. It's just great live. It's just there's not a whole lot of stuff going on as far as the stage goes, but it's just a great song to hear live. Then he talks to the crowd again and talks to them about the cameras being there and why they're there, filming for a live DVD. And then he says, "This is our newest single, Greed." And again, it's such a good song live. I kind of wish they'd bring it back. And again, great live lighting in it as well. Then you get to track 8, and that's Tripping. So it kind of slows down here. Robbie in that bass part intro. Then, as far as the stage goes during this song, like I said, it's kind of like a castle, so the columns actually start to crack, or it looks like they're cracking because some light is starting to shine through. The fire logo actually catches on fire. Another thing, that I never realized until I watched it today was Robbie's actually singing backing vocals, and he doesn't do that again for years later during the Oracle. Another part that I never realized was the mirror ball from the ceiling during that very slow part of the song. It's really good. And then you get to track 9, which is Get Up, Get Out. The crowd's just jumping up and down. So that's all Sully says. Get up, and the crowd's up and going. Again, the battle of the drums thing between Tommy and Sully. I always loved that part of the show. It's great. Can't go wrong with that. And then there's some bombs at the end. Then you get to track 10, and that's Sparrow. The fire again matches the song, so on the columns they just kind of flicker. It's really cool. And then the crowd sing. And then the fire of the logo during the chorus. There's a fog machine, of course, on the stage floor. Kind of looks cool looking. And then we go to track 11, and that's Keep Away. And Sully talks about this being his hometown, or their hometown, and gets the crowd really pumped up because he wants them to be the loudest crowd on the tour. And then he says, enough with the new stuff, let's go back to the debut album. And that leads into Keep Away, track 11, and the crowd's just energized. The crowd helps him sing the chorus. Just the energy of not only the crowd but the band is incredible. It's worth a watch. Then that's how the show ends, and then we get to the encores, and that is Voodoo, track 12, and the crowd helps Sully sing the very intro part. And there's also a part at the beginning where Sully says, does his Ozzy interpretation and says, "Let me see your cigarette lighters." And then again, the fog, the video screen's used again. This time they're playing the video of Voodoo behind them. So that's kind of cool. They kind of cut the parts of the band, but the other stuff in the video is on there. Then track 13's last song. They do Whatever. The crowd sings along, and Sully does the little bit of the I'm going to split this in half, you guys on this side and then you guys on this side, and who's the loudest kind of thing. It's kind of funny to watch because he doesn't really do that now. He just has the whole crowd sing. And but yeah, and then it's the energy is just crazy on that song. Um, and lots of fire and bombs going off at the end. And then the band just kind of walks off stage. And it's a great DVD. I really like this show. Both of these DVDs I pretty much wore out. Um, and the way I talked about it was the way I watch it. Because, like I said, if you watch it the other way, the way they were released, you're going back in time. I'd rather go back and then forward. But that's me. I don't know. So, talking about the track listing on this live DVD, they actually played 8 songs off of Awake. And then they only played 5 from the debut album, but as you can tell by this point, they're pushing the new album at that time. And I mean, who can blame them? There's so many good songs. Plus, I would say by the time they headlined, um, they were probably sick of playing stuff off the first album. So that I had part of it as well. Now, still, like I said, amazing show to this day. I still love it. I'm going to rate both of them 1 out of 10. Smack This, I rate a 10. It's cool to see the backstage stuff because you don't really get to see that stuff unless you work backstage or part of the road crew or whatever. The live one, again, 10. It's still a great show. An hour and a half, 13 songs. The only kind of solo you get from the drum thing on Get Up, Get Out. It's just music. All right, so now we're going to talk about homework for this week. You rate them. You tell me 1 out of 10. Do you have the DVDs? Do you still watch them? You tell me. Let me know. I want to join in on the conversation. All right? And if you know anybody else that's a Godsmack fan, you need to tell them about this podcast because we need to get this thing going. Let's set this thing on fire. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends who are Godsmack fans, hey, check out this podcast. And again, I appreciate everybody who's viewed, liked, and subscribed. And you just got Godsmacked.